It's probably the number one reason why most people aren't getting the results that they want and are really struggling to keep their foot on the gas and stay motivated, inspired, and pushing hard. Proven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Okay, today we are talking about uncertainty. Now, when we grow, there is always uncertainty. We're moving into this new realm, this different realm, this realm that we haven't been in before. That's what growth is. Now, even for those who are comfortable with growth, like let's say build a $20 million business, and now you go out and you start a new business, even if you get it $20 million, all right, you're still going to have a level of uncertainty because you've got different market or economic conditions, you've got different staff, you are at a different stage in your life. So no matter where you're at, there's always these levels of uncertainty within our lives. Now, some of you have grown to a level, and you might be stuck at that level because you're quite comfortable where you're at, even though you want to keep growing. You know, one of the most common things that I get when I'm talking to business owners is they get to a certain level where they just get stuck. Now, Grant Cardone said this many years ago. He said the worst person to take advice from is a millionaire. And what he meant by that, he wasn't really saying that it's a bad idea to take advice from a millionaire. But what he's saying is that most people work really, really hard. They'll push through adversity. They will challenge themselves. They will grind, they will work hard, they will figure it out. And then when they get to $1 million in revenue in their business, or maybe it's even a millionaire on paper, as in net worth, there seems to be something that happens where most people take their foot off of the gas. And then they become afraid. They become afraid of losing what they've worked hard for. Now that's understandable. I've gone through it where we grew and scaled our business to, just over $1 million and a half, something like that. And then we had a bunch of staff that were non-effective and non-productive, and we had to get rid of them. When I got rid of them, though, it created a whole bunch of problems in the business. It stressed me the fuck out. It stressed Jess out. We would then argue or put pressure on each other because, we're obviously feeling like shit about where we're at. And so we had this negative feeling around growth, right? We didn't want to get stuck again. That fear became a mechanism that we started making decisions by. So instead of making decisions to grow, we were making decisions not to lose money. We were making decisions not to hire the wrong staff. We were making decisions based on our fears about if we grow again, what happens, who's going to manage the team, what happens if we have an ineffective or non-productive manager in the company. We didn't realize though that we'd learn all of these great skills. But what it did was it stagnated the business for years. I know that I went through this stage of just feeling so unconfident or afraid. When I was younger, I didn't even give a shit. I was like, you know what? I'm either going to go hard and win, or I'm just going to go hard and just obliterate everything that happens in this company. And that was the way that I operated. So Jess and I would sit down on a Sunday afternoon. And I remember this one time. We had a team. We had a couple of team members in the marketing team and in the sales team. I think all up there was about 5. And we had asked them to put together a launch strategy. Anyway, after a whole week, they still hadn't done the launch strategy yet for this online event that we were launching. And so Saturday morning, Jess and myself woke up and we were both pissed and frustrated. We're like, how can we have these team members who can't put together a basic strategy to launch an event? So we thought, you know what, fuck it, let's do it ourselves. So I dragged a table across the lounge room and put it right in front of the TV. Both myself and Jess sat on a dinner table or a dining table looking at the TV, and we watched TV all weekend and we just went for it. So I would go, right, you're going to create the landing page, I'll write the sales copy. So then I would just sit there and write all of the sales copy. Then Jess would create the landing page. I would tell her what needed to be changed. So change the color of the button, change this graphic here. I don't like the size font. And then the next second would build a landing page. Then I would write all the emails. So the emails pre-sign up and then the emails after sign up. So I would do all of that. That would take me probably a couple of hours again. Jess would now set up all the integrations and everything like that, like the payment gateways. And then on the Sunday, we would wake up and we would just write a whole month's worth of content, at least a month, maybe even 6 weeks. We would create the graphics, film videos, shoot all the content, and then edit it all. And by Sunday night, we literally launched on a Sunday night, having said, stuff it, let's do this ourselves. We did all of the launch and everything ourselves within 2 days, just myself and Jess. Now, like I said, we had a team of 5 people who were working on it for 5 days and they couldn't even come up with a basic strategy. So things like that really pissed us off and frustrated us. But that's what drove us. We drove us to just outperform everybody else around us. So what ended up happening was, because we got to a point where the business was making okay money, it wasn't great money. I mean, for most people, $1 million is a lot of money, but that's revenue. You've also got outgoing costs, taxation, staff wages, and so on. But, we do have a reasonable, profitable business as well, okay, because we're in education. So anyway, we pushed really hard to get to that point, but then we ended up growing and we probably put on another couple of $100,000 or something like that in turnover. But we had to hire a bunch more staff in order to keep up with myself and Jess. So we ended up having about 13 or 14 people working for us at one stage. And we really didn't get anything more done than what we'd gotten done with just myself and Jess and maybe 1 or 2 others. And I think that put a lot of fear in us, a lot of frustration, a lot of resentment. We were pissed off. But when I look back, we didn't know how to hire staff properly. We didn't know how to manage staff properly. I didn't know how to lead staff properly. I was probably highly stressed and highly strung as well, as was Jess. We didn't know how to manage our finances effectively. So we had all of these ineffective things that we were doing in the company. So when I look back, we've grown so much. But one of the challenges that a lot of business owners face, and this isn't just for business owners, this is for everybody. We're talking about comfort and getting stuck with your own growth. But what happened was that once we sort of started pushing over that $1.5 million to 2 million mark, I noticed that we just started getting comfortable. Like, we had enough money for a holiday, but we also had enough money for bills. But at the same time, we were stressed all the time because we had a lot of outgoing costs. We had a lot of staffing costs. We had a lot of taxation coming in and out. So we really weren't that profitable because we spent a lot as well. I just noticed that we got to this place where we started getting so resentful towards staff. I would walk in and I would just see them sitting around, or they'd come back late from lunch, and I would just want to smash everyone's face in. Like, I was so pissed off. And I know that there's so many of you out there who are small business owners who go through this as well. You've just never figured out how to hire properly. You've never figured out how to lead properly. You've never figured out how to manage properly. You don't know how to get the right reporting off of your team, so you don't know what they're actually doing. And so because of that, you have to micromanage them, which then becomes highly stressful and you get more triggered. So we went through this stage. And I think what happened was that after we downsized throughout COVID, we sort of put the right systems and processes, and I had to grow a lot. I had to learn a lot about management, leadership, marketing, sales, branding, a whole bunch of things that I really hadn't put a lot of effort into. I was always learning about sales and marketing. That was something that I guess I'm pretty competent at. But it was those other areas as well. And then what happened was we hit our record quarter this year, and we have 1 staff member in Australia. So we have 1 staff and 3 offshore staff. So we're outproducing the 13 or 14 staff members that we had before. Just because the business is running more effective, more efficient, we've got better reporting, better systems, better data, and also a better team. What my point is, though, is that I think for so many small business owners out there, you forget how much you grow through challenging times, how much you have to push yourself in order to not drown. Because that's what it feels like. It's like every day you're just drowning. You're sitting there and you're bobbing up and down. And as soon as you catch a breath and you think, you know what, I think we're back on track, the water comes crashing back into your mouth again, and you've got to spit out all the water and it feels like you're drowning, and it just sucks. It's just such a shit position. I think small business is way harder than running a larger business. From what I've seen, right? A lot of my clients have scaled their businesses, and it's actually a lot easier if you talk to them when they get a larger business. They have bigger problems, but they have more time to resolve those problems. And yeah, there's a lot more pressure, and decisions make more of a difference in the company, but they're not dealing with these micro problems minute after minute after minute after minute, which I think small business ownership is very much like that. You have a lot of micro problems. But my point is that I got to a place where I became uncomfortably comfortable, where I was stressed all the time, I was frustrated, but the business was still putting good money. We had good turnover and good revenue, so we were doing okay. And when we downsized, we got comfortable, right? We didn't have to push too hard. I mean, we did better because we had better systems and better processes and better leadership and better management. But I think growth also scared me a little bit. I got scared of going backwards. I got scared of what happens now when we take this comfortable lifestyle and I start risking more financially. What happens now when I bring more people into the team and I've got to train and develop them, but I'm also doing sales and marketing and content delivery? It's really tough. So for so many of you small business owners out there, I get it. It's really tough. But what I do know is that you have to grow out of your challenges. and this is for everybody. You have to grow out of your challenges. There's only two things you can do through adversity. You have to grow and expand, or you have to contract and die. Most people think if I just stay still for long enough, nothing will happen, right? It'll be okay, but it won't be because the rest of the world is moving beyond you. So for some of you small business owners out there who have been sitting in this place of comfortable, whatever you want to call it, uncomfortable comfortableness. I think, is that even a word? I don't even know if that's a word. But what I know is that place of being uncomfortably comfortable, if you stay there for long enough, people will move past you. Your competitors will start moving past you. You'll see people in your industry who'll start buying more cars, more vans. They'll have more team. They'll have better technology. And they will start to outgrow you. And they're outgrowing you because they're making the tough decisions and you're not. They're getting uncomfortable so that they can have more comfort in higher levels of revenue, greater profit margins, higher levels of team members. So when you're a small business, most of the time you hire people that aren't that good. When you get to a high level, you start hiring people who are managing directors or directors in the company. You might hire people that are in the C-suite, so CEOs, CFOs, which are chief financial officers. You might have the head of sales or chief sales officer, chief marketing officer. So you start hiring these high level people. Now they might be on 150 to 250, maybe even $300,000 a year. A good CEO or a good chief operating officer might be worth $500,000 depending on how big the business is and what they've got to manage. So what my point is that if you grow faster in your scale, you get more competent people that you can hire. When you're stuck at the lower levels, it's really, really hard because you don't have enough cash flow to hire good people, but you need good people because there's so many fucking problems that you've got to deal with. So it's tough. It is really, really tough. But this is what separates the women from the girls and the men from the boys. You have to be courageous. Courage is the thing that stops most people. I've had this conversation probably 5 or 6 times this week. A couple in my DMs on Instagram, a couple just with some people around me. And they're like, man, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to grow. But the thing is that if you don't make a decision, life is going to force you to make a decision. So you either have to downsize and stay small or self-employed, which sucks because you'll never go on a holiday and get paid in most cases. So if you're self-employed, if you're a plumber and you're self-employed, when you go on a holiday, you're not making money. Now, if you've got a couple of staff, you'll make money, but normally the profit margins aren't great. Okay. And then you've got to do the admin, you've got to do tax, you've got to do, your accounting, you might have to do some marketing. So it's a really tough position to be in. If you scale beyond that and you can start to hire a manager and a supervisor. So say you've got 14 people on the tools and you've got 2 higher level managers, they then start to manage the staff. So when someone's away that day, they can move jobs around. They can make sure that the jobs are profitable. You can start putting in systems and processes, and you can start to hire more effective people around you. So it is a lot easier to scale at a higher level than it is at a lower level. I mean, you can scale faster because you can bring on more people at a lower level at a lesser cost. But my point really is that small business is really tough. And if you're not prepared to be courageous and you're not prepared to make decisions quick, and if you get too comfortable, you'll stagnate the business growth, you'll stall the business growth, and it gets really difficult and really challenging. So for all those small business owners out there, I want to let you know that I get you. I know how hard it is because I've been there. But please don't fall into that comfortably uncomfortable position, because I probably lost a year or 2 just sitting there not being sure of what to do, just being scared to grow, being scared to onboard new people, being scared to hire new people. If you're an employee and you're dealing with small business owners, understand the high levels of stress that they have to go through, the high levels of pressure, how fucking hard it is, how taxing it is on your family, how taxing it is on their mental health, how taxing it is on their physical body. It is really, really tough. You put in long hours, you're thinking all the time, it's hard to switch off, it impacts your relationships because most people don't understand what it's like to run a business. So, make sure you give them a break. But when you're in uncertain times, the thing that you really have to do is when you're in that stage of uncertainty and you don't know whether you want to grow or not grow, you just have to make a decision. And it's easy to make a decision when you have clarity. So I recommend that every person who is a business owner here, you have to be 100% clear on your mission. You've got to be clear on your vision, and you've got to be clear on your values. Every time we onboard someone for our Business Growth Odyssey program, the first thing that we do is set all their business foundations correct. Because if you don't set those foundations correct, it is so hard to grow off of. And I learned this the hard way. I didn't have the foundations. And because of that, we grew quickly. Then we had to collapse back down to a size. I stagnated, I got stuck, I got afraid. We still had that 7-figure revenue. Everyone around us was going, hey, you're doing well, you're crushing it. But for myself and Jess, man, it was so much pressure, so much stress, so much uncertainty. I was so afraid to make difficult decisions. And then we ended up getting to a spot where we realized that if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so if we were stressed today, we're going to be stressed tomorrow, and then the next day, and then next year, we're still going to be stressed. So we had to change something. The first thing we had to do was change our mindset. Mindset is the number one most important thing for business growth. It's the number one underestimated thing in business growth, which is why 56% of businesses fail in the first 4 years. And if you have a look at it, 86% of businesses don't have more than 4 staff, and 92%, I believe it is, don't make over $2 million a year in revenue. Now, that might be different now because of inflation and so on. So it might have gone up a little bit, as in, it might be 7 or 8% of businesses do over $2 million a year in revenue. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and have a look at the stats. They were from about a year and a half ago. But my point is that you have to first of all work on your mindset, and then you have to get clear on what you're doing and why you're doing it. You have to know why you get out of bed in the morning to have a business. Anyone who says it's because of the money, they are going to be tortured. And this is what happens every week. I get business owners and they're like, yeah, but I just want to make good money and I want to have more freedom. And I'm like, those two things don't work together, motherfucker. Like, they just don't. Because if it was easy to make money and have more freedom, everybody would be doing it. But the truth is that you're going to grow your business and you're going to work your ass off. And when you work your ass off, you're going to make more money. Now, if you can onboard more staff over the next 1 to 3 years, then you'll start to free up more time. But you have to decide what you want to give up. Do you want to give up some time for the next couple of years in order to create more money and freedom? Or do you want to stay where you're at because you don't really want to give up your freedom, but you want more money? If you're there, you are going to be trapped because you're uncertain around why you're growing. Money is a byproduct of value exchange. So we don't make more money without creating more value. Now, there's some stupid shit that's going on in the market at the moment because if you have a look, governments just print money out of thin air. So they're not adding value, they're just printing money, which then that creates problems with the economy, right? We have an excess of money in the economy, so you end up getting higher inflation. There's a whole bunch of problems with doing that. But anyway, you end up with inflation. Then from there, people demand more in wages, so wages go up. Then the cost of living goes up because wages have gone up and people are prepared to pay more, and it never ends. So you just end up having this inflation that just runs away. That's a huge challenge that we're going through at the moment. But a lot of employees put out their hands and they say, well, we want more money, without doing more work or without adding more value. But it's just because the cost of living goes up. But the cost of living goes up, and so everywhere wants to charge more money for lesser service, or they're not adding any value to the product. In fact, some places cut back the value. Like if you look at biscuits, let's say chocolate biscuits, a packet of Tim Tams, we're aware of what those are. Back in the old days, the whole packet was filled with Tim Tams. Now what they do is they make the Tim Tams smaller and they put little plastic separators amongst each Tim Tam. So instead of having 12 Tim Tams in a packet, now they get away with 10 Tim Tams, which are actually smaller. So you still think you're buying a packet of Tim Tams for maybe a little bit more. It's a little bit more expensive, but you don't realize that you've lost 2 extra Tim Tams. So for the company, they have 2 extra Tim Tams per packet to put into another packet. So every 10 packets, they essentially get a free packet. This is what happens. So we have this runaway market that's going on at the moment where people have detached away from the idea of adding value to make more money. And so business owners go, well, I want to make more money because my competitors are making more money. And then their competitors are going, well, we want to make more money, but they're not adding any value. In fact, they're taking shortcuts. They are doing a worse job. Staff are getting pressed harder to try and get job times down. And so all of this just creates all these little bubbles, or sometimes they're bigger bubbles, sometimes they're micro bubbles. So then you end up having an economy that is unstable. You get to a place where eventually you're going to have higher unemployment when these bubbles sort of contract. So we really have to think about how we operate our company, how we operate our lives, because through these uncertain times, or when we have times of uncertainty, unless we have clarity, it's going to chew us up. We're going to become indecisive. And then when that happens, we're going to get stuck. And so there's a lot of you out there that I know that are stuck in business because you want the freedom, you want the money, or there's a lot of you who want to leave your job because you want more money, but you know that working in a different place is going to demand more from you, which then takes away from family. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market at the moment amongst most employees, amongst most business owners. And that's because you don't have a clear success map for your personal life. And then you don't have a clear map for your business. With that clear map, you know what you're growing towards. And so you know what decisions need to be made in order to get to where you want to get to. But like I said, if you want more time or more freedom and you want more money at the same time without putting in the extra effort and the extra work and making the tougher decisions, it's probably never going to happen. You know, a lot of my friends that I grew up with, they've always been small business owners and they do all right, but they've never really gotten to the place where they could be. They're in their 40s, their legs are starting to hurt, their backs are starting to hurt, they complain more, they just drink more, they smoke more, they spend more money on jet skis and motorbikes and cars and shit because they're trying to buy back some fulfillment. And so they complain all the time because they're stuck on the tools, but they wanted to grow their business and make more money, but they always focused on the money and not the growth of the business. So now they're stuck with the business without the growth and they don't know what to do. Because in order to grow the business, they're going to have to put more cash back into the business, but they don't want to do that because it takes away from what they've already created, and now they're attached to making money. So it's a really uncertain time for them. So let's go back through that. How do we deal with uncertain times? Well, first of all, we need clarity. That's the most important thing. Clarity in our personal lives and clarity in our business. We also have to understand why it's important for us to grow. You don't get to grow without something being sacrificed. So you're either going to have to sacrifice some time, you're going to have to sacrifice some money, you're going to have to sacrifice some energy or effort or whatever it is. And I recommend doing it when you're younger, not older. But there are plenty of older people out there as well who hit a point in their life where they go, you know what, fuck it, I got nothing to lose, and they go for it. And good on them. But I know that when I was younger, I had shitloads more, I won't say mental energy or physical energy, but I just know that I can't push myself to be on breaking point like I used to. You know, I used to go out drinking, partying, you know, not sleeping that well. I never took drugs, by the way, but you know, I would still go out and drink and then I'd go to work. Sometimes I'd work 2 jobs, maybe even 3 jobs sometimes just to get by. I can't really do that anymore. Like it's just my brain and my body just go, fuck this shit. I would rather be more effective in the way that I do things and think more effectively than work harder physically. So these are just some of the things to think about. So if you're going through uncertain times, please just reach out. Let me know. Hit me up on my Instagram account. It's MichaelMojo_success. So Michael Mojo, one word, _success. Hit me up, shoot me a message. Let me know if you're going through these uncertain times. I'll be able to have a chat with you and help you out as well about how to get clarity on your success map in life, but also on your business map. If you do not have a really good business map as you start to scale, it becomes really challenging. That's why most people come to my Business Growth Odyssey program, because they just don't have a clear company guide, a culture guide, and then they don't have a clear strategic plan. And if you're wanting to scale without that, holy shit, it is tough. You'll just be micromanaging everybody. Your communication skills will be poor. Turnover will be high. Productivity will be down. And it just creates a massive stressor. So anyway, I hope that helps Driven Mofos, especially for you business owners out there, but also for those non-business owners, that it is tough out there. You've got to make decisions. You've got to be courageous. You've got to have clarity around what you want, and then just go for it. Just keep pushing hard, because you do not want to get into that position where you're comfortably uncomfortable and then afraid to make a decision because you're afraid of losing what you've already got. This is why most people, they just get stuck with their house, they get stuck with their car, they get stuck in their relationship, and their life is just stuck, and they just grow old and they wait for retirement thinking that things are going to change. But retirement normally only makes everything worse because everything starts going downhill pretty quick after retirement. Your physical body deteriorates faster, your mental energy deteriorates faster because you're not being pushed, your money deteriorates faster in most cases. Very few people retire and live a better life. They normally live a worse life after retirement, if they don't retire and go into a different job or a different field or a different industry. So anyway, just thought I would share. Anyway, Driven Mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass, and I look forward to joining you back here once again for another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.